Hello, LinkedIn. Here we are again. Beth Granger here. In case you're watching live, feel free to share, like, comment. And if you're watching on replay, the same thing because I will get notifications, I hope. I am really excited today. I have a guest for you. Some of you may know, some of you may not. Bruce Weinstein. I met Bruce at National Speakers Association and immediately liked what he was all about, which is ethical leadership. So he's sometimes called, and on Twitter and other places, the ethics guy. Tell me about that, Bruce. Tell me about being the ethics guy.
You know, about 20 years ago, Beth, the New York Times began a column called The Ethicist. And it was kind of a highfalutin version of Dear Abby, where people would submit ethical questions, and then Randy Cohen, who was the first ethicist there, would answer them. And the thing is, I noticed a couple of things. First of all, a lot of the questions were really of interest to a pretty narrow group of people. We might even say the 1%. But also this word ethicist, it's a word no one knows, no one can pronounce, and no one can spell. So I thought, well, first of all, I have a name that's not easy to remember, Weinstein. So I thought, what if I called myself the ethics guy? That would be easy to remember. And also it suggests a broader approach to talking about ethics and who I would be talking about ethics with. And it's funny because our mutual friend and colleague, our beloved colleague, Jess Todfeld, told me that when he was a TV producer and he was booking folks, his boss would say, "Get me the ethics guy." They wouldn't remember my name. And so I thought it worked, and I've trademarked it. And a couple of times I do a Google alert and see who else might be using it. And so I have to send them a polite email or call them and say, "You're probably not aware of this, but this is actually trademarked." And it's been working for 20 years.
And it's also, I feel like it's an approachable, it's a friendly moniker. That's the right word for it.
Yes.
Right? It's you're talking about something pretty deep, but yet it's approachable because guy. So I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And Brian, thanks for joining us. And everybody else who hasn't commented, feel free to comment so we know you're here.
Hi, Brian.
I also know some people that like to listen on replay, and some even in the car, almost like a podcast. So they're not really watching, they're just listening.
Neat.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Very cool.
So Bruce, something I know that we've been talking about a lot lately and engaging about is this concept of Follow Friday. And for people who haven't heard about this, it started on Twitter. It was just one of those Twitter traditions like Throwback Thursday and Hire Friday. And it was Follow Friday, where people would suggest people that you might want to follow that they knew. Well, someone had the great idea to bring it over to LinkedIn. And I discovered it originally through a guy named Chris Cochran, who I think discovered it through his colleague. And you have really taken this on in a really interesting way. So why don't you tell everybody about that?
Well, I just thought that your first post about Follow Friday was really cool. And I thought, what a great way to introduce members of one's network to other members of the network and put people together, bring people together. And after all that, I looked at LinkedIn really as first and foremost about building a community and secondarily getting more business. So I started, the first post I did, I remember I just picked, 8 or 10 names of people and tagged them. And then I thought, hey, wouldn't it be nice if there were a visual component? And I discovered that LinkedIn actually will create a photo montage for you if you upload, say, 5 photos at once. The thing is, though, it tends to give prominence to 2 of the 5 people. So through Canva, which you rightly suggested, I've been able to get 5 photographs, make them the same size, and every Friday I post. And in fact, I tease it on Thursday. I'll have a post and say, who will this week's honorees be? And then I'll list 5 broad categories, like we'll have an attorney, a compliance professional, a physician. Will one of them be you? And another cool thing I noticed is that some people, believe it or not, do not want to be featured, even though they're on LinkedIn for the world to see. And a couple of people were mad at me for not giving them a heads up. They said, my profile isn't current. That's my fault. But so Ben Wolf suggested to me, just ask people in advance. And that's what I've been doing. A few folks have said they're not interested, but this way they get a heads up and then they share it with their folks. People have been writing me now that they've developed close business relationships with people who have followed them as a result of Follow Friday.
I love it.
I don't do it to get, but it turns out a lot of the folks who follow people in my network will then be connected to people who will follow me. So the circle really is expanding. I owe it all to you because it was through you that I learned about it. And I don't know if you read the last couple of posts, but some folks have written, they look forward to this now. That this is something that they look forward to in the weeks. And so, what more can you ask? It's wonderful.
I love it. Yeah. And it's interesting because I've done it for a while, and then now I just do it once in a while. I've chosen not to do it every week because it feels like a commitment that I have other things like LinkedIn Live. And I kind of use LinkedIn Live in a very similar way. The idea is to introduce people I know to my network through these half-hour conversations. So we're really doing the same thing in different ways.
We are. And in fact, as you know, I write for Forbes 3 to 5 times a month, and I write about ethical leadership. And I thought, now this is something that Forbes readers should know about, because Forbes.com has 71 million unique visitors per month. Wow. And it's the most shared publisher on LinkedIn. And I can write about pretty much what I want to, as long as it's within this field of ethical leadership, which covers a lot of ground. So I wrote a piece called Follow Friday, the hottest new trend on LinkedIn. And now with every follow, and in the article, I show step-by-step how to create your own Follow Friday page, what to do and what not to do if you are following someone. For example, it's nice to include a note if you ask someone, a stranger, to join your LinkedIn network. I wrote this, I put it up, and now every Friday with my Follow Friday posts, I'll include in the comment box of LinkedIn, because I learned from you that LinkedIn doesn't like it, understandably, when folks are taken off the LinkedIn page. So I put the hyperlink in a comment box. If you want to learn how to create or start a Follow Friday post tradition on your own page, here's how to do it.
Yeah. And I actually thought of not every week, but so some people will do these LinkedIn Lives at the same time every week. I move it around based on my schedule and my guest schedule. I've thought of at some point doing one on a Friday and having it be a Follow Friday where I'm introducing someone.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Now tell me, have you found that most people are honored by being one of the people that you mention?
Yeah, so there's several categories. The first is folks who, it's like I awarded them, best actor in a major motion picture Oscar. They're beside themselves, and it's really nice to see that. A couple of folks will not respond when I send them a heads up saying you're an honoree tomorrow. They might like the post when it comes out, and then it's like a bell curve, right? A few folks are really excited. In the middle are some people who are, it's nice, but they don't go out of their way. And then at the other end of things are people who don't even acknowledge it at all.
Right. It's interesting.
A little strange, because I have gotten their permission. But one thing I've also noticed is, unlike you and me, some people out there don't obsessively check LinkedIn every day. And that's why, so we can't assume that if somebody's a Follow Friday honoree, or even a guest on your show, that they're going to be watching the replay, let's say.
I have an idea for you.
What's that?
So you can, when you do the post, yes, they'll be notified in LinkedIn, but you can also send them a link by email to the post and say, hey, the post is live, in case you want to engage with it. Well,
so since I don't have everyone's email, I've been sending them that link in Messenger, but if they're not logging into LinkedIn regularly, they might not see it. And some people get a lot of messages, but you're right. It is ideal to use email for that purpose, but some folks don't put their email address on their contact information on LinkedIn. Have you noticed that?
I have. And some people, it's their personal, not their work, and that maybe they don't check that in the same way. So it's fascinating to me how people use the different platforms. And yeah.
Actually, it's funny, someone yesterday noticed that one of the people I tagged in one of my Facebook, actually it was the LinkedIn article about Follow Friday.
Okay.
And she said, I think you tagged yourself incorrectly. You tagged Scott Wiener. And I said, well, he's the CEO of LinkedIn, so I just wanted him to know about it. I don't know if he's seen this, but quite frankly, I think the Wall Street Journal should write about this, because this is really a novel way, as far as I can see, of using a major business platform. It's so easy to do. You don't have to go to the lengths I've been doing with getting people's picture in advance, and
you could do one person. It doesn't have to be 5.
Yes, you could. You could do one person. You don't have to do it every week. But there is a Follow Friday hashtag on LinkedIn, and sometimes I forget to invite people to follow that too, because I think that also helps. But a nice woman named Samantha Kelly, who is known as the Twitter goddess, suggested that I create a LinkedIn group for Follow Friday honorees and people who wanted to engage in this. And I haven't seen a lot of traction with it. And I wonder what your take on that.
Yeah. I so wish LinkedIn groups would be good. They have revamped them, but they're still pretty much not very active. They used to be, and then what happened was people complained they were getting too many notifications or too much spam, and they tried to fix that. So then they turned off all the notifications. Now, apparently they have some, but not a lot. I rarely see a notification from a group. So I would have to consciously say, with all the other things going on and all the notifications I'm getting, oh, let me see what's going on in that group. So people aren't there. And the best example of this is I'm in a group called LinkedIn Experts. Do you think it's a LinkedIn group? No, it's not. It was a Google Plus group, and now it's morphed into other things. We're on Slack, we're on Facebook, we're on an ongoing chat. So unfortunately, right now, LinkedIn groups are not necessarily a place that works for building a community.
Perhaps people are just so inundated with social media avenues and possibilities and invitations that this is one more thing, and people might wonder, what do I get out of this? What's the return on the investment of my time and energy? It could be. I mean, in Facebook, I started an ethical leadership group, and that has a very high buy-in rate, if you will. People always respond to posts that folks made, and we'll have a conversation. So perhaps maybe we should do a Follow Friday for a LinkedIn group on Facebook.
Maybe. I've been thinking about that a lot, actually.
I'm sorry?
I was going to say, I've thought about that a lot. I think what happens on Facebook is people are more relaxed. It might be on off hours, and they're scrolling through and they're seeing the comments, and they're much more likely to engage in a Facebook group. Whereas a LinkedIn group, I think people use it, of course, in different ways, LinkedIn in general. Some people are in there a lot. Some people go in, do their things, get out. So it's really interesting to me, actually. And I just want to say, Noel, thanks for joining us, and the other people that are here. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to tag us, comment, like, share, so that other people can join the conversation. And back to you, Bruce. Sorry about that.
So to just shift gears a little bit, there's something I'm especially excited about with LinkedIn, and that is the commitment to writing an unsolicited LinkedIn recommendation for someone once a week. And what I've noticed is that it takes maybe 5 or 6 minutes to write a great, meaningful recommendation for someone who has not asked you for one. But it's on that person's page forever. Sometimes there's a lot of folks out there who have few or no recommendations. And so I wrote for Forbes a second piece called One LinkedIn Habit You Need to Develop. I turned it into an ebook because I really want people to see the value of doing this and of enriching it. It's just an easy way to apply the ethical principle of care.
It's wonderful.
Anybody who wants this, I don't know if there's supplemental materials that you do for this, Beth, but I'm happy to send you the ebook.
Yeah, send it to me. I don't think I can attach it in a comment, but I can put a link to it, or we'll figure that out offline.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, that's an interesting point that you brought up. So I do a lot of networking, right? In person and online, of course, on LinkedIn. And in the training courses that I give, I'm doing a new group training, actually. Tonight's the second session. And I talk about that a lot, that there are things that you can do that don't take you a lot of time that help your referral partners. Sometimes you don't have a referral you can give, but you can write a recommendation. You can invite somebody to an event you're going to where they might meet the people they want to meet. So I think writing unsolicited recommendations are a fabulous thing to do. I also think people are uncomfortable asking for a recommendation.
Yes. So to just drill down on this just a little bit, there are 3 essential elements of a truly meaningful LinkedIn recommendation.
Ooh, tell me.
First, start with a reference to the person's character, because you almost never see this in a LinkedIn recommendation. So if I were writing one for you, I believe I've done one for you already, Beth, have I not? I believe it follows the format that I'm about to say. It's been a while, I think, since I wrote it for you. But I might say, Beth Granger is a high character professional and an honest, accountable human being. There, just the first thing they see is a reference to their character. Because quite frankly, does it matter how knowledgeable or how skilled you are if you're a dishonest person? Why not mention, this is the most fundamental aspect of who we are, our character. So why not mention that up front? That's the first step. The second step is to mention something specific that person has done to benefit you. So again, for you, I might say, one of the things that I so value about Beth is that she introduced me to a tradition called Follow Friday on LinkedIn, in which blah, blah, blah. I talk about that a little bit. And then the third element is to say how this has benefited me professionally or personally. And through Beth's introduction of the Follow Friday tradition, I have enriched my circle of valued colleagues. I have helped other people, which is the main reason I'm on LinkedIn. And I have actually developed friends I've met with in my personal life. And then something at the end about, especially if the person is a professional speaker and you want meeting planners to know about this, to say something like, if you're a meeting planner, I highly recommend you hire Beth for your next event, but better do it soon. She's in demand. Now, a caveat here. This is extremely important. I
know what you're going to say, and it is. Go ahead.
The caveat is, do not, I repeat, do not ask the person for a recommendation yourself. This is not quid pro quo. This is not, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. As Susie Orman says, give to give, don't give to get.
Love it.
So after I write this recommendation for you, then I will email you a link to it, both through LinkedIn and if I have your email address that way. And I'll start by saying, I've taken the liberty of writing the following recommendation for you. And I'll actually include in the body of the email, the text so they can see it. And then I add with, it should be awaiting you in your messages to post. Sometimes I'll say also, if there's anything you'd like me to change, let me know. But I've stopped doing that because it should be good enough as it is. Now, people will let me know. Actually, this is a client of mine recently let me know that I misspelled her last name.
Oh,
that's
no.
an important thing to change. But LinkedIn makes it very easy for you to do that. Even if the person has posted your recommendation, you can still make a change, which shows up immediately.
Yes.
But when I posted this recommendation from my client, I did not say, and would you write one for me? Maybe down the road I will, but certainly not right away. Does that make sense? I think it does.
I think it does. I think it's, nobody wants to feel like it's a transaction.
Yes.
Right. And by doing that, it's just, I don't think it's wrong for them to want to do it, but at that time to ask for it, no. The perfect time to ask for one actually is when somebody is saying thank you to you. So if they're saying, thank you so much, Bruce, that was an amazing presentation you gave at our sales meeting or whatever, that's the perfect time to say, oh, you're welcome. I had a great time. Hey, would you be comfortable saying all those great things you said in person as a LinkedIn recommendation?
Well, that is good. this happened to me recently in Abu Dhabi. So after the compliance officer made it sound like I just won an Oscar for Best Actor, I whipped out my phone and I said, "Can you please say that same thing again?" Now, sometimes it's not quite as passionate or as detailed as you might like the second time around, but I'd actually like to ask you for a recommendation for captioning or subtitling videos on LinkedIn, because I'm seeing so many different apps. Some, I guess, as the AI is getting better, the translation from audio to text is getting better. But what do you like?
I think they're all pretty much at a similar level, especially the automated ones. And it depends. So you're talking about video that you're going to upload?
Well, so there are two things, and actually, I know this is technical and not so much about ethics, but it's all of a piece. So apparently there are two ways to do it. With LinkedIn, you can click the camera icon on your write a post, and it will automatically upload it just for LinkedIn. And I don't think it gives you a copy of that. Or, excuse me, or you can record it with your camera when you want and then upload it to LinkedIn.
Yes.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, excuse me, I think LinkedIn gives a preference to post with videos that are, what's the term, organic or original, native to LinkedIn. Is that correct?
You know, I haven't seen a huge difference when it comes to video. I've noticed differences between types of content, but I wouldn't worry about that.
You're saying you would not worry about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
Well, that's better, because then I think it's easier to find subtitling software for that. But so I interrupted you. What software do you like for that?
So I've used different things. Sometimes I use one for the iPhone called Clips. And what that is you do the video through the app. So you have to, it's not a video and then the captions are added. You record it and it attempts to transcribe it, and you can fix it where it doesn't hear you properly.
And that's an Apple app.
For the iPhone called Clips.
Yes.
And then of course there are all the tools that as speakers we know we use for videos, like Rev and Temi, and there's one called Otter. In fact, Otter I had tried to, before the software I used for going live did an audio file. I tried Otter and it got some of the things, like anything, it will miss some things. Or I remember saying Hofstra, I was teaching at Hofstra and saying Hofstra and it could not figure out what that word was. Some people will use YouTube, believe it or not. It seems like more steps, right? They'll upload the video and then it creates the transcription that they'll then turn into captions and add to the video.
And is the YouTube software pretty accurate for captioning, do you find?
I think all the automated ones are equally not 100%.
What about, I've seen ads for something, it starts with a Q, QIX or something like that? Or subtitling on LinkedIn.
Is there one called, I don't know, I'm one of these people, I love exploring new tools. I'm endlessly curious. But then that can take me away and distract me from the things I should be doing. So I have a list of really cool things I want to check out, but have not spent the time purposely checking them out.
I mean, for example, this morning I had an idea while I was walking around Manhattan for a quick video question, which I did the video, posted it. But I know that a lot of people see this with the sound off, and so it's meaningless. And that's why the captioning really is so helpful. So if anybody watching this has a suggestion, maybe you work for a company that you're proud of that does this, I would welcome. And you can just put in the comment box for us all to see your favorite video captioning software. And
I'd like to know that too. I'm sure a lot of people that are joining us today would as well. Another tip is to have, besides the captions, to have a headline, so a graphic, kind of the way I have this Live with Beth at the top of the screen for what we're doing today. Because as people are scrolling through, that can catch their attention and they know what the video is about before watching it, and it might make them decide to stop.
I just got a great idea. Why shouldn't the recommendation section of LinkedIn include the ability to create a video recommendation?
Oh, yes. I think that would be great.
Doesn't that seem like the obvious thing? Because like for that really nice fella in Abu Dhabi who gave me this great testimonial, I could have uploaded that directly into recommendations, and people are probably more likely to watch a 30 or 60-second video that's captioned than to read a 150-word essay.
All right, LinkedIn, are you listening? We have a great idea. Now, Bruce, I can't believe it. We've been talking for almost a half an hour.
Where did it go?
That's what happens. We could just keep going and do the world's longest LinkedIn Live. I don't know what that is, by the way. I know people who've done it for hours.
Hey, there's a Guinness Book record worth pursuing. The longest LinkedIn Live ever conducted by 2 people. Nobody watched it, but they did
it. It would be like a filibuster, right? Look, at some point, you might run out of something to talk about.
I don't think we will, Beth.
I don't think so either. So something I like to think about, if anybody has any questions that's joining us, any questions for Bruce about anything, about ethical leadership, about Follow Friday, about captioning videos, about doing a video in Manhattan and how did you do it so the noise of the city wasn't around you, anything.
May I interrupt you? Because well, to build on what you're saying, if anyone watching this believes they should be in Beth's or my Follow Friday post, in other words, if you believe you have a message the world needs to hear, let us know, and we may very well include you in the. Well, I'm speaking for you, Beth. I don't want to do that, but I will absolutely consider putting you up there.
Wonderful. I love it. Wow. So this is great. Tell me, just in the last few minutes that we have. Oh, wait, let's see a comment. Wow, okay, Brian says, here is the record. The longest video live stream is 161 hours, 11 minutes, and 32 seconds in duration, and was achieved by Hulu in Santa Monica from the 13th to the 20th of May last year. Interesting.
Very interesting.
But it wasn't a LinkedIn Live, right? It was probably live streaming. So we can get the specific LinkedIn one if we want to. Anything interesting coming up that you're involved in that people might want to know about? Well,
I'm always keen to get questions about ethics, about ethical leadership that I can answer in my Forbes column. So if you have an ethical question that respects confidentiality, please send it to me through my website, theethicsguy.com. That's theethicsguy.com with 2 E's in a row. And I would love to consider including it in Forbes. And if you'd like to be mentioned by name in your company, I'm happy to link to either or both. So that should be good visibility for your good work too.
Wonderful. I love it. And I know I was honored to be interviewed or part of 2 of your articles, of course, about LinkedIn, because that's what I talk about.
And one of them is one of my most viewed posts ever. I think it's 6 things you should avoid doing on LinkedIn, which now has, last count, I think it had 48,000 views.
It's crazy.
Which for a leadership post it's through the roof. And it
was such a short conversation too. It was just one of these things. And
well, that was, it was an 11th hour. Should I tip my cards here? I don't know if this is like a magician.
Go for it.
But it was the last day of the month, and I needed one more column to post to meet my quota. So I texted you and I said, "Are you available for a quick chat? And maybe I can just cut and paste and create an article." And you did, and I had to do almost no editing because you were short and to the point in your answers. I kept the questions short, and that's the article. The transcript of that conversation is the article that has now been viewed almost 50,000 times.
Which is so funny because you've had some pretty interesting people with big names. So who knows?
But then we tried to do it again and we were not able to replicate that success. So it was just lightning in a bottle. It just happened to work really well.
Absolutely.
But
all the factors.
I think perhaps the fact that we were so relaxed about it and the stakes seemed to be low, let's just talk about this thing quickly, back and forth. And I think it showed it was a more relaxed and not playful conversation, but informal conversation about ethics than I often have.
Yeah, absolutely. Bruce, this has been so much fun.
Me too.
Thank you for joining me, and everybody who joined us live, or if you're watching on replay, thank you. Feel free to share it if you think people should know about Bruce and know about Follow Friday and all the things we talked about. And have a great week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Take care.